Good morning, students. We are going through chapter number 2 of history, and I was discussing about the rising growth of company power during this period of time. So we have already discussed about so many wars and some different system which was adopted by the English people to have more control over India politically, economically. Okay, so today we'll discuss about some acts, charter acts, and we will discuss about the judicial administration of the British. So we have already discussed about the Regulating Act of 1773, and now we will discuss about the Pitt's India Act and the Charter Acts. There were Charter Acts 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Charter Acts which were introduced from 1793 to 1853 for better administration and stabilizing their control. So the British introduced many Charter Acts during this period of time from 1793 to 1853 for a better administration in India. So what is in Pitt's India Act 1784? In this act, the Governor General Council was reduced to 3. Earlier it was 4. And the presidencies of Bombay and Madras were made subordinate to the Governor General and his council. A board of control was set up in London to look after the civil, military, and revenue affairs of the company. This was Pitt's India Act. Now we will discuss about the Charter Acts. So there was a series of Charter Acts. It was introduced by the British for effective administration. Act of 1793. Act of 1813, Act of 1833, and Act of 1853. So all these Charter Acts were introduced for a better administration. What was the main points of these Charter Acts? In 1793, the Governor General was given power to override the decisions of the Council. A Vice President was to be appointed by the Governor General in case of his absence from the Council. The members of the company were now to be paid from Indian revenues. So what was important? That the members of the company, who were the members of the company, English people, will now be paid from the revenues which was collected in India. In the second Charter Act, 1813, the monopoly was finished. Now the monopoly was ended to trade in India. All the Englishmen are now allowed to trade. Trade was open to all Englishmen in this act. Charter Act of 1833. Bombay, Bengal, and Madras were placed under the complete control of Governor General. A fourth member called the law member was added in the Governor General's Council for legislative purposes. And in Charter Act of 1853, what was in it? The law member was made a full-fledged member of Governor General's Council. The Governor General could appoint 2 more members to his council whenever required. The council was to exercise its function on the lines drawn by the British Parliament. So the British Parliament will actually tell how to function. This council has no control, no members from India. So guidelines will be given by British Parliament. So this was the Charter Acts to have better administration in India. So now we will discuss about the judicial administration in India during this time period by British. In 1772, and let me tell you the page number. This page number is page number 31. The Charter Act is in the page number, on the page number 31. Judicial administration. In 1772, Warren Hastings introduced judicial reforms in India. Each district was to have a Diwani Adalat and a Fauzdari Adalat. So in order to have judicial reforms, Warren Hastings introduced judicial reforms. So each district has a Diwani Adalat. Diwani Adalat means civil court, and a Fauzdari Adalat means a criminal court. The Diwani Adalat was presided over by the collector, and Hindu and Muslim laws were to be applied for Hindus and Muslim respectively. So the Hindu law and Muslim laws were both applied on as the case may be. The Fauzdari Adalat or the criminal code was presided over by the Indian officers of the company. So the Indian officers who work for the company preside over the Fauzdari Adalat. They got assistance from the Qazis and Muftis. In 1833, a law commission was appointed. A law commission was appointed in 1833, and what was the task of this law commission? It was given the task of codification of Indian laws. It was very important. Consequently, the Indian Penal Code was compiled that led the ideal of one law for all. So this was very important development. So the whatever law is made or coded is universal for all people. One law for all, whether they are rich, poor, whether they are of any religion, the law will be same for all. This meant that one uniform law would be applicable for both the Indians and the English in matters of jurisdiction. And in matters of jurisdiction, all the English people and the Indian people will be looked upon same if there is any conflict. Now we will talk about the army. In order to have a sound system of administration, it was necessary for the British to have an efficient army. So to look after all the territories they have acquired, they needed a strong army. So they have to keep a check on the foreign invasions and internal revolts of the kings also. The army mainly consisted of Indian soldiers or sepoys. So the Indian soldiers who work for the company are called sepoys. The higher ranks of the army was reserved for the British, so the Indians were not given the higher ranks in the army, and Indians could rise only to the rank of a subedar, and more attention was given to the infantry regiment of the army. Soldiers were trained in European methods, and their warfare and their lives were made more disciplined. So discipline and European method was most important in the army. The army officers in Bengal were paid more than the other presidencies. Now, police system. What was the system of police? The Governor General Lord Cornwallis is credited to have established a regular police force in India. So to look after the internal matters, internal peace, police force was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. From 1792, every district was divided into a number of thanas. So in every district there was a number of thanas were made. A daroga was the head of the thana. He was assisted by the policemen in the maintenance of law and order. So there were other policemen to help him in maintaining the law and order. The jamindars were deprived. The jamindars were deprived of their task of maintaining peace in the district. The daroga was usually an Indian. The darogas of various police stations were under the district superintendent, so the darogas work under the district superintendent. Okay. And the district superintendent was generally a British. So chowkidars looked after the villages. So the law and order will taken care by the chowkidars, and the kotwas maintained the law and order in the towns. The police was mainly responsible for what was the duties of the police: the maintaining of internal law and order, protection for thieves, dacoits and thugs, ensuring safety of highways. The police often resorted to violence, corruption and bribery. The police was actually blamed for bribery, corruption and violence. Very often because they do so because it become a distress for the people. People are very much annoyed of this kind of activity of the police. It tortured and killed people in the name of maintaining peace. In the name of maintaining peace, they torture the people, and unnecessarily they irritate the people, and so on. Lack of education, poor salaries, and an absence of privilege as compared to the British soldiers were the main factors responsible for this conduct of police. The police were not paid enough as their British counterparts, so this could be a reason for this kind of behavior by the police. That's it in this chapter. So we have discussed how the company rises in this period of time in India, and how they took control of almost all the parts of India, and what did they do for a better administration, and what was the army, what was the system of their army, how they introduced the police for internal control, and they have some what was their judicial administration, etc. So if you have any doubts regarding this chapter, you can ask me in the class. So we will meet you in the next on the next day with a new chapter. So do ask your doubts, clear your doubts in the class. Okay, see you in the next class.